And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at a game called We Are Dead. Now, full disclosure, when this game was on Kickstarter, I did a paid preview for it, although that does not affect my final review in any way or form. This is another zombie game. I think, what do I have? I call that Yaz, yet another zombie game. But in this one, they kind of flip it on its head a little bit by you being zombies, trying to take out as many people in a shopping mall as possible. It's done with mostly comedic effect. The artwork is very cartoony, although still a little grotesque in several of the cards. It doesn't hide blood and things like that. So the back says, "Are you hungry for humans?" No. But anyhow, in this game, let's see how it plays. Here's the board at the beginning of the game. Players are going to take turns randomly, or if you want to carefully place out shoppers all over the board. These shoppers all look the same, although they have different numbers on the back of them. Each player is going to have a zombie token that starts in the middle on top of the hot dog cart, and they're going to have a plaque for their character also. So you can see here is Mortimer. You have a special ability once per game. You can take another turn after this one. 2 movement for each infection spent, and or discarded card during the movement phase, etc., etc. They have different special abilities. The artwork in this game is very Simpson-esque, and I believe the artist was one of the folks who worked on The Simpsons. Anyhow, on a player's turn, and players are going to have a handful of 6 cards from a big deck of cards. They're going to move one of their character 3 spaces. Let's say I want to go 1, 2, 3. You can move an extra space for each card you discard. You can also discard one of your infection tokens. You start with 2, and some cards that show up during the course of the game will give you more of them. So I might, let's say I spend a card and go 3. I'm going to try to attack those folks who are there, those innocent bystanders. Each other player has the chance to play a hero card face down from their hand. So let's say 3 people play a hero card face down of my opponents. I pick one. I say, okay, I'm going to fight this one. Who am I fighting? I'm fighting Argy Fire. RG Fire? I don't know, some fireman. The other 2 cards are simply a +1 to him. So instead of being a 7, he's a 9. But I might have fought Bert the Moose or Jax Dupre and Hunt 3 live crew. And so you can see here, these guys are all eagerly and happily fighting zombies. So when I fight the zombie, I'm going to have to use cards from my hand. You have Claw, Bite, and Spit cards. And these cards all have different special abilities on them and different amounts of damage that they do. So I have to fight someone who's a 9. So I could say, okay, I'm going to get rid of this Bite, 2 bites, and a Claw card to beat that hero. Beating a hero gives you a victory point on the track here. Once you've beaten a hero, you'll turn over the token, and now there are 4 shoppers that I can kill. Each of those shoppers requires 1 card. The numbers don't matter. So if I had used these 3 and let's say I still had just 1 claw left, I could kill one of those shoppers. But if for some reason I still had 4 cards left, I could kill all 4 of them, getting a point for each one. That token is then removed from the board. If I had failed to beat the hero, for whatever reason, I would take a damage token. When you take 3 damage tokens, you're critically wounded, whatever that means for a zombie, and you discard all 3 of them, move back to the hotel cart, lose 2 points, discard your hand, and draw 6 cards. So it's a setback, but not a horrible one. At the end of your turn, you can also discard down to 1 card and draw back up to 6. There are a few cards in the game that are zombie hordes. When these cards show up, the first 2 times, a horde token is put in the middle of the board. The next time they're shown up, these horde tokens move 10 spaces and just kill people on the board. There's a few other things about the board. You can see that there's escalators here, and so if you are here and at the bottom of an escalator, you can move on it and go right to the top automatically. And there's also stores that you have to go in the entrance to fight them. So, it's basically your big shopping mall. Well, actually, this is not a big one. A small shopping mall filled with zombies. There's also another side to the board, an amusement park. Now, the cards actually match the mall. They said that they'll have another deck cards that match amusement park. Doesn't really matter. You can play the same way, except you have to start out here, go through the gate, the zombies, and then run in. You can jump from seat to seat on the Ferris wheel. You have to go in the entrance to the roller coaster and run around the roller coaster to get people who are on it. It's more of some different layout of moving on the board. Anyway, there's a certain number of points that you're trying to get to, depending on the number of players. The first person who gets to that number of points is the winner. We Are Dead is not for me. And see, I hesitate to call it a bad game because I could see this game being sold at Walmart or Toys R Us. This has a very simple feeling. You move around, other people get to play cards and you, ha 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 ha, and then you take them out with your cards. I mean, it's not like there's a lot of strategy. In fact, there's no strategy. Your strategy is walk around and eat people. Yay! And there's no tactics. You're like, oh, I have cards. I will fight this turn. Which cards will I use? The fighting cards, of course. In fact, the game's almost on autoplay. The only real choice you have is whether to play heroes against opponents. Because the heroes that you use against maybe one opponent, you might want to save for another one. But even then, you might as well throw them out of your hand. They don't do anything good on your turn. The game might have been more interesting if cards had multiple ways to use them. Like this could be a hero or it could help me. Now, the heroes all do have special abilities. One does an extra damage to you. Some will help people escape and things like that. But for the most part, the game is really random. You just walk around and kill stuff. And the biggest flaw that I have with the game is that it's really repetitive. I'm going to kill a shopper. I'm going to play a hero. I will fight the hero. I will now kill the shopper. I'm going to kill a shopper. I will play a hero. I'm going to fight the hero. You know, it gets kind of boring after a while, I thought. And I thought the point totals that they had for each of the number of players, like I think like 50, oh wow, just seems like it takes forever. It's really not that long of a game, but it feels much longer than it is. And that, I think, is a fault. It should have been a much, much faster game. So I don't like the game, as I think is evident, but I'm hesitant to say this is a terrible game because I know there's an audience. I know that there's people who will enjoy this. I think that folks who like maybe not Munchkin per se, but games in that genre, this is kind of a take that board game, and people get a laugh out of it. And I think some people really enjoy the artwork and the humor, and the amusement park is kind of a cool looking board too. But there's just not enough game in the box. It's entertaining for a short bit and then continues for a much longer time.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!